games too, we had similar scenarios.
Yes.
Where is the challenge, and what is causing this kind of rift among the students?
You know, there is lack of respect, lack of respect for some schools by others. And there is also belief here that when one school wins, the school has won because it has been favored by the officials. For example, when they say Mvara Secondary has won, the other schools will not agree. They will say Mvara Secondary has been favored by the match officials, which is not actually the correct thing to do. Match officials, some of us who go to see these games, we realize that the match officials do their best to see that they perform to the expectations of the game. But students don't usually agree that they have lost fairly or the other school has won fairly. Secondly, there are those people who maybe old students, parents, and any person who has gone to watch the game. They mingle with these students in the field and they start causing chaos against other schools. You see the situation escalating. In one of the guidelines, we say the students should move out of the school premises while they're in uniform. But very unfortunate that school administration, they don't enforce that guideline that their students should move out when they're wearing uniforms.
You're not talking about school uniforms. There's only one school that was observed being smart. That is Munigal Secondary School. The rest?
I want to appreciate Munigals, the administration of Munigal Secondary School, for really exhibiting the right standards of discipline in these games. You see, in the last games, the girls came out when they are fully dressed in their uniform. They were orderly. They were listening to the teachers, and that is a plus for them, a positive for them, that they have exhibited the best discipline. Even after the games, what they did is they came out, they got organized, and moved back to the school. Something I wanted to say here also is that during our time when we were schooling here in Arua City here, when it would be time for these games, not everybody would go for the games. It would not be a public holiday in the school, no. Some of the students who are not actively involved in participating in the games would remain studying, and then those who are identified to go and support their teams to do physically participate in the game would move to the places where these games are to be played. But now the trend has changed. You find the whole school moves out. Now others, they don't actually go to the football pitch. They first of all go get intoxicated with alcohol, with the drugs, and then at some time they now visit the places where these games are played. If we really lived up to the guidelines that not every student should go to the games, and then when those who are going to these games should go in uniform, if we enforce that, and then we'll be able to identify whether this is truly a student or this is a member of the public, a hooligan anywhere, who is trying to cause chaos against the other schools. So the guidelines which we agreed by the organizers of these games, the police, and the students themselves, they are not being followed. That's now where you find a lot of chaos every time. Students cannot be controlled. Police cannot identify whether these are truly the students or these are just hooligans causing chaos. But you find each arrest the police makes, the people claim that they are students, they belong to some schools. But now when you go into deeper investigations, we even discover that some of the people who are caught up in the fracas between police and the rowdy people from the pitches are not actually students. And in such, we take such people to court. In the last agreement, I want to state here that originally when these students go rowdy after the games have been played, a lot of damages is caused. Schools were originally being suspended not to participate in some of these games. But now, the last agreement was that some of those students who have not participated in the violence, in the hooliganism, are being unfairly punished by not allowing them a chance to participate in the games. But now what did we say? We said this time students will take individual responsibility. You are identified and arrested in the act of hooliganism during sporting activities. You will be investigated and produced in court to answer the charge. Where does that liability now go? It goes to the students themselves and on the parents who actually pay school fees for these students. Teachers, we also want to at times believe that there are teachers who encourage or incite these students into these acts of hooliganism, especially during the time of cheering the teams. During the time of cheering the teams, instead of controlling those who are using vulgar language, those who are singing songs demeaning the other schools, the teachers also join in singing those songs and cheering those students.
But one observation has been that some of these student teachers were once former students of these schools, and definitely they still have that belief, they still carry on that belief that when Barifa does not end in a chaos, that has not been Barifa.
Yeah,
and that means the students will have to prove it beyond reasonable doubt that indeed it was Barifa. And what resulted is tear gas and live bullets, as we saw.
Yeah,
How can we deal with such teachers?
No, we shall design a way. We are studying all the scenarios through our investigations, and some teachers who we identify to be inciting violence amongst the students in such sporting activities, we think they should give us an explanation, a satisfactory one. Where they fail to give satisfactory explanation to the fact that they incited violence, definitely the hand of the law will touch on them. Being a former student of these schools, even some of us talking here, we studied from Arua City here. I didn't study from Kampala. I didn't study from another place. I studied from within some of these schools here. So, being a former student of these schools, even their parents, their guardians, their people within the community here who are no longer students, but they still go to cheer their former school in these games. But we always urge them that even if you wished your team your school to win, where it has lost, you should accept it fairly that they have not done the best. Next time they will improve to really win. We discourage, or we don't really accept students to demean schools in Arua City by exhibiting hooliganism during sporting activities, by indulging in these acts of crime. They are really much aware that looting, erecting unlawful roadblocks on the road, destroying people's cars, people's businesses, stoning others, causing blood on their bodies is a criminal activity. So this calls for us, the teachers, the security, the parents and the guardians, to come in, to talk to these boys we send to the schools. Most parents will come to us and say, no, these are children. Mind you, the age of criminal responsibility starts at 12 years. And majority of these people, these students we have in schools, their ages range between 12, let me say 11, 10. If somebody is really too young, I can believe that the youngest person in a school can be 10, in a secondary school can be 10 years. So these people can be held criminally liable for their actions. We shall not condone that somebody has brought up a child in a very improper way and this child is causing chaos in the school. What are some of the things which we have identified to be involved in this kind of activities by students? One is, when these games are played in the Barifa Stadium, Barifa sporting field there, the people go there selling things. Among the things they sell there is alcohol. In the city here, there are those who have the habit of abusing drugs and substances. We shall not doubt here that in these events, students even get intoxicated from some of these drugs like marijuana. Because when they move out in the bush there, people can be selling, in the forest there, people can be selling marijuana to these students. So, sale of alcohol at the venues of these sporting activities, also sale of drugs to these students is one of the factors that brings a lot of
Okay, one observation that we did see happening at Barifa is that we did see this incident actually emerging after several messages of peace by the different stakeholders, most of the leaders, but which fell on deaf ears because we did see the guest of honor, that is Honorable Kalsum Abdu, calling upon the students actually to desist from tendencies of hooliganism, and we also did see the sports officers for the two divisions of Central and Ivory Division also really extending the same message, and not forgetting that they still the chairperson, the vice chairperson of Head Teachers Association also did have the same message. That was Munduga Mzamil also really calling upon the students to desist from tendencies of hooliganism as they were going back, because after the games we had a meeting with also really the different schools, but what ended is what we saw.
Yeah.
What could that mean if at all the students do not take the message of the leaders very, very seriously, like that?
I wanted to say, I don't know how people perceived it when leaders are not there to call on the students to remain calm and accept defeat wherever the games have not been favorable for them to win. It could be the leaders who are committed. I don't know whether they neglected, but that aside, when in the planning of these games, you find that police together with these leaders moved in some schools. My brother Paris, you can believe that the police engaged in very many schools with the teachers, with some of these leaders, and the message was one: this game should not be a battlefield. The places where these games are played, we should not use them as if it is a battlefield we are going to fight. During those days, students would use such opportunities to really interact positively. You would find people would create debates in the fields. They are challenging themselves positively in the debates, and they would learn something. But unfortunately, these days, people are now engaging in vulgar language, abuses, singing songs that demean other schools and what have you. We would wish that these students realize these things from the messages we pass on to them during the planning phases of these activities, that a sporting activity like athletics, like the ball games which were held at the beginning, the early months of this year, these are activities that should really develop them positively, to identify their talents, to really interact positively with other schools.
Okay.
You will learn something. These are like exchange visits for them, because when they meet in a football pitch, they should be able to debate, they should be able to interact. What are the positives in their schools, what are the negatives, and what have you, so that they can go back and improve their schools. Okay,
that brings me to the question of how we should be able to also really make sure that this conflict that is being also really happening among the students also really ends, because you can side with me that this is not the very first time we are seeing this, and over the years, even way back in history, these fights have often been there. Once I can give you an example between St. John's College Ombachi and Vara. these are conflicts that have always been there. And of recent, we also really seeing the same conflict now emerging between Mvara and the Republic and Mvara and the Arua SS and the other schools also really being part of this conflict now. And that brings me to the question, could it be history now haunting the present?
Now, I think when people hear that the relationship, when these young boys hear that the relationship between, say for example, Mvara and the St. Joseph's College Ombachi has been like this, they will be telling those stories of old, and then they carry on that these schools are not actually in good relationship. I want to say here that even I studied my secondary education in the 80s, in the early 80s, 1981, 82. There were stories that St. Joseph's College Ombachi would disagree with the Mvara Secondary, and the other schools would be disagreeing. This, we can say history is repeating itself, but when you go into this kind of things, you ask, why are they conflicting? Nobody comes up with a clear reason why these schools are conflicting. Would he really appreciate if these schools competed positively about academics, about some of these things, and appreciate that we have performed poorly, we should improve, or we have performed better, we should do something greater than what we have done? This would be seen positively. But it is very absurd for our schools here to be seen, to be known. Our viewers who are seeing us from far will really know that schools in Arua, in sports, they behave like this. Schools in West Nile, they are schools that like striking. I want to say, we have been telling these students that this unbecoming behavior, such as strikes, hooliganism during activities, these are uncalled for. We saw in the media, or you might have heard, a school in Terego district, Oreagini, I'm told the students are sent home because they had a strike. This strike arose after some students went out for games activities. When they came back, they created a scenario in the school, started damaging school infrastructure, and then the school resolved to send them home. So who are the ones losing? The students themselves and the parents who really struggle to pay school fees to educate their children. So why are these schools fighting? We need to identify the root cause. What is bringing problems? Is it the stories the teachers tell? Because each time, I believe, new students come. How do these new students get to know that the history here was this? Is it the students themselves telling each other that our relationship with the other school was like this and it should be like this? And are teachers really discouraging this kind of relationship in their morning briefings or in their daily briefings to these students in schools, that when we go out, our school should behave like this, our school is an example of discipline and what have you? Are these stories being told to these students in the schools? If they're not being told, and then we shall not end up this kind of fracas where Ombachi will each year out, each year in, be seeing Mvara Secondary as an enemy, Mvara Secondary doing the same to the other. So it calls for security, the managers of these schools, and even some parents, maybe some old students. We have brains here, good brains, who studied from these schools and who are serving our city here in various capacities, who would like us to develop as a city. These people can be called old students, maybe from Vara, old students from St. Joseph's College Ombachi and other schools. These brains should sit down and identify what are the challenges. Why are these schools behaving like this? We would love to see our schools here behave like other schools, where when they go for sporting activities, you don't hear that they have fought. When a school has lost, they accept defeat, and that is the order of the game. You cannot say you should always be the one winning. Okay. When two people are playing like that, there should be a winner and there should be a loser. Okay. The loser should take it positively, and the winner should also celebrate it responsibly, not to injure the feelings of the other one.
Talking about celebrating responsibly is actually where I will be talking as we bounce back from short commercial break. But for now, let's first have this money made, and we return back also with the discussions. And I'm still with MATUA ALFRED OTOKIRA, the Community Liaison Officer for Central Division, and we are looking also really into the hooliganism cases among the students during sporting activities, and how should we make sure we put an end to this. As the viewer, you have the best answer, which we are waiting for. Keep it coming through. For those of you watching us via YouTube, keep the comment there, and as well as those catching us via Facebook, please also really drop your comment in there, and I will be able to solely read and share with the rest of the viewers. For now, let's first have this short commercial breather, and we bounce back shortly.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Mbappe, Cristiano Ronaldo, Harry Kane, Sané, Griezmann, Lewandowski, and many more. Mbappe! Who is your European star? We are very familiar with all German stadia. Trust us to give you the best Euro experience affordably. Catch the matches live on NBA Sport, channel 255 on antenna, or channel 199 on Dish Decoder on Star Times. We got your stars. This message is brought to you by StarTimes Solar. StarTimes Solar, more than just solar.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Welcome back from National Commercial Break, and we are back with the discussions, and we want to have a look into also really the recently concluded ball games 2, where we did witness cases of hooliganism where tear gas had to be fired. And definitely we are here to understand that, because we want to make sure that there's an end to this. And earlier on, we were talking about this with Alfred MATUA, and he said celebrating responsibly is the way to go. But really, that did not happen as we did see happening in Barifa, because each of these schools at least won something. And if I'm talking about different trophies, I can't be able to mention to you which, or maybe different categories, or where we did see these schools also really emerging as winners. Looking at basketball games, boys also really went to St. John's College Ombachi, where the girls was won by Varasinia Secondary School, and then also really netball was won by Republic Secondary School. That was for them. And we did see Munigas, the discipline side, also really working as the first runners up. And we did see that also happening at Barifa, where we also did see schools like Vara Senior Secondary winning other categories. And this is where we did see also really Arua Secondary School, which was already part of this chaos, because their names also already mentioned as part of this chaotic group here, where we did see them also already walking away as the overall winners for the girls' side. I don't know what this means, because earlier on we were talking about sharing the different trophies, because we did see that also really happening, where each of these schools at least won something for themselves, but that did not go on well. Instead of celebrating, because we thought they would be celebrating, but we did see them also really, throwing stones at the other camps. Also, we did see them at one time also really stoning police officers, and that is where I'm saying I want to appreciate you for that kind of professionalism that you exhibited during these sporting activities. I don't know what that means and what the public need to learn from this, because I believe there was a message that you needed to pass, much as tear gas were being deployed, but no life was lost. What does that mean?
Paris, honestly speaking, police would not wish to go to those extremes where tear gas has to be fired. You must have, if you were there, you must have experienced what that gas, when it is fired, what it does to your body and to your eyes. The effects of those things are not favorable. They are not good for our health. Much as people would say police acted professionally, for us, deep in ourselves, we feel that that was not the extent where we would feel it should have reached. We would wish that from the football pitch, we ensure that everybody walks peacefully, nobody's property is lost, nobody's running, people go discussing about the results of the game or the interesting bits of the games they saw. That would be what we aspire to see. But to some extent, it called for police to fire tear gas. That was inevitable, because that was the best thing they would do in the circumstances. I talked here about celebrating responsibly. You know, Paris, you said here, all these schools scooped some award in these games, and they were celebrating. Now, the celebrations, why it turned rowdy, cannot be explained. We believe part of it was that when schools start singing songs that demean the other ones, other schools, that becomes now an issue. And then a school like Mvara Secondary, they wanted to really walk into the pitch so that they are seen celebrating the awards. This did not go well with other schools. The most conflicting schools we have identified here are St. Joseph's College Ombachi, Mvara Secondary. To some extent, we are keenly looking at Arua Public Secondary, and there is also Arua Secondary. These schools, we believe, they have their hatred, they have their conflicts when it comes to such things of sporting activities. There is also this behavior that people of this region, West Nile, let me say particularly Arua, when they see our police officers, for example, the field force unit, deployed, they think these people are deployed to go and have running battles with them. That is not it. Those people are meant for public order management. Public order management means they provide you with security, they ensure that everything is done orderly and people walk back home in an orderly way. But now the unfortunate part of it is there are groups of hooligans, when they see our officers deployed to provide them security, they want to feel a taste of how tear gas is fired and how it is done. You see deliberate actions the hooligans will take to really go and start throwing stones at the officers. I want to really say here, confirm here, that in the last fracas, 2 of our officers got injured. 2 of our officers got injured, and they are attending medication. They were stoned. That is very unfortunate. I don't know how a person who who saw himself or herself doing this to a police officer is failing, but this one we say is an act of hooliganism which is uncalled for. So when we deploy officers, we deploy them for security. The kind of policing we want these days for the community in every activity is that the community should cooperate with our officers to ensure that there is safety and security in the places where they find themselves. That is why police always has to be there. In this era of terrorism, where you see a large gathering of people, like you have attracted children and members of the public from various places in a place like Barifa Stadium, if a terrorist went with explosive devices and disorganized the people there, it would be very disastrous. And the one way of deterring terrorists to move to such places is by deployment of police and security. The presence in a field like that alone will signify that there may not be easy access or room for a subversive element to go and carry out attacks or to carry out subversive activities in these things. So people should appreciate that in these things, when we deploy police officers, we deploy them to provide them security and ensure that they carry their activities very safely and they move safely. It is very absurd to see that our youth these days, who we feel they are going to be leaders of tomorrow, indulging in running patrols with police each time we have activities, say sporting activities, particularly sporting activities in our region, strikes in schools, sporting activities by schools. This is where we are having trouble with the community, with the students. This is something we need to change such that we make a good name for our schools, for our region, in all of these activities. Celebration is okay. The celebration is an act of excitement. When you achieve something, some people yell, even some people celebrate by crying.
Okay. So was it right for school A to move and celebrate in the middle of the pitch? Because at the end of the day, the allegation that you people were protecting this school more than the rest of the schools. I do not want to mention the name of the school, but I guess you know which school was being said that people are protecting.
No, police does not offer security discriminatorily. When we go out for activities like that, we target everybody, every person present. We are not only providing security for a particular school. We don't know why one school went into the football pitch, if that was really annoying to other schools. I'm not sure if the regulation was that each school should remain where they are and they should not enter the pitch. That I'm not aware. But providing security at the football pitch was majorly not discriminatory. We were targeting all schools. Of course, the security officers there could have placed an eye on some schools. I don't think security officers were too much interested in the schools like Monigals. They know Monigals was a very decent school. I will continue mentioning them as an example here, a very good example here. Other schools should learn from Monigals secondary. They were a very decent school. They were orderly and what have you. Police was not paying keen attention to Monigals because they knew that was an orderly school. But there are schools who are normally, you can even see from their actions on the pitch, in the field, students dressing as if they are these criminal gangs we see on TVs. That is not the nature of students we wish to have here. Students tying their heads with black bandanas. What does that one mean? We see a terrorist group in some of those Asian countries also tying their heads like that. Were they trying to emulate those terrorist groups? So this is where we say when students are moving out, they should move out smartly dressed in their uniforms. And the teachers should be able to enforce this. I was talking to one of the teachers who was telling me that these students actually, when they are leaving the school, they leave the school premises when they are fully dressed in uniform, and when they reach out, you find all of them are in civilian clothes. How do you tell us that you also allow clothes which are not? When we're taking these children to school, they say, we only want certain type of clothes in the school. We don't want civilian clothes in the school. I believe schools are enforcing that. Now, that is, you cannot really say this is what is happening in these schools.
But our schools also really have the challenge of the porous border points.
The porous border points can be there, but a serious school that has regulations, laws and regulations, when they carry out searches in the dormitories of these students and they find something that is prohibited within the school with the student, will normally take that student before a disciplinary committee. So are the disciplinary committees of these schools really effective? Are they doing their work? I believe they're not doing enough to really discipline these students. We see certain schools where students actually fear to do something wrong, to go against the regulation, to go against the laws, because they know the repercussions will be very dire for them.
Okay, that brings...
It may mean dismissal, it may mean you going to call your parent to come and explain. You have some explanation. But I don't think these people are doing these things in the schools. Yes.
So that brings me to the question of students being limited from going for these ball games activities. Could that work? Because once I was a student here in one of the schools, which is actually being put behind this chaos, I wouldn't wish to mention because purposes of also protecting my name. But definitely also we are understanding that when I went elsewhere, students were not allowed to move for these ball games. It is only the footballers and also other officials who are supposed to move for these schools, and that could also not be promoting the kind of violence among the students. If at all we embrace the same, could it work, given the nature of our students, where if at all students are not allowed to move, definitely we may see strikes also emerging. What could be the solution, and could this work?
Yes, Paris, let me tell you, during those years, some of the people who studied in these schools in the 80s and whatever will bear me witness. Schools were not as well off as of today. You'd find a school struggling to hire a truck to carry students who are going out for an activity. They will not allow their students to loiter on the streets, moving on foot. They would hire a truck. Those who are moving out would be registered, their names would be registered down, and they read, they say, these students are going for an activity like this. They come orderly, and they go back orderly.
But now government of Uganda has stopped using of trucks.
These schools have buses, not even trucks.
But we didn't see any bus even appearing at Barifa this time.
Let me tell you, Mvara Secondary has a school bus.
It was not parked.
Even that day, St. Joseph's College on buses, bus was parked at the police. I think they were fearing that their bus would be damaged. So these schools, Idiofe Girls has a bus, Aruo Public Secondary has a bus. Appreciate that these schools
I can confirm to you that no school brought the bus up to Barifa. What does that mean?
What they would do is they take the students there and come and park the buses in the safe place if they feel that these buses may be damaged. But even orderly, they would be moving to pick these students when the activities are done. During those days, schools would struggle to really ensure that their students move out orderly. But this time, this is not the way. Everybody, every person in the school leaves. Teachers, I think even the support staff, they leave, go for an activity. Now, every student goes their own way. I think others end up in lodges, others end up in drinking places, others end up in places where people are smoking weed. So how do you tell me that you will be able to control these people when they get back to the school premises? That is why you find from an activity, students will go back. When they don't get food in time and whatever, it turns out to be a strike. I'm told already in secondary school, some students went out for an activity. When they came back, a scenario, a strike. Why did that strike happen? Possibly students went out and they got intoxicated with alcohol. drugs and what have you, and that is it. We should have an orderly way of sending these students for activities. Not everybody should go. If we can employ those systems of those days where they would write names of students, they say, these ones are going for a football match, or these ones are going for athletics, and the other ones remain in school. They will, I don't think these students will refuse that. There are those who will not want actually to go. Even if now when that law is not being enforced, there are some students who remain in the, amidst these activities, they remain in the school, revising their notes, having their debates and whatever, doing tangible
Much as we talk about students being stopped to be at schools, but we have seen during the games, we see the students also really bring themselves, much as the schools have not allowed them to come and also really be a part of the cheering teams. But when the games are going on, we have seen that happening, that the students also really reach these venues of the games without necessarily also really seeking the permission of the schools. And what should the school administrators learn from this? Because we want to have an end to this conflict among the students. And what should also really what should be the approach by the different school administrators in terms of really addressing this concern?
What I would say, school administrators should be able to set rules in their schools, strict rules within their schools to have these things done in an orderly way. Students will eagerly want to go and witness these things. But if they are to go, even all, going all should really mean that they do what? They move in an orderly way. I've seen, I want to appreciate the girls' schools we have here. I see at times when they're moving for activity, they come out. You see a teacher walking in front, other teachers walking by the sides, and then the students walking in a line, very orderly. They move, and then they go back in an orderly way. That one only happens with the girls' schools. I've seen St. Mary's College in Diofe. I've seen many girls do some of those kind of things. That is the orderliness we need. Even if you are taking your students all out, take them in an orderly way. They move together with their teachers, they are guided that this is right, this is not right. Now, there are schools here, those who are tying their heads with the black bandanas and what have you. How do you come out from the school tying your head with the black bandana, you are moving bare-chested, you are putting on a funny pair of shorts, and that does not really give a good name. That even if you are moving out shouting the name of your school, praising yourself that you belong to a school like that, people who watch at you, they really see some insanity in you, because black bandana on the head, bare-chested, running, shouting, vulgar things. At times when they reach at the police, they start even abusing officers. Officers watch at them. You wonder what type of students are these? And these students are being groomed in the schools to be leaders tomorrow, to be the CLOs like me today. How do you groom yourself in that manner and you will expect to be a CLO? This time in the job market, discipline is one of the things. Good grades are one of the things. And for example, recruitment of police. Very many people have found it difficult now. Students have found it very difficult now to even join police because they cannot acquire good grades. When we say, come with a letter from your former school to say you were a student in that school, headmasters are reluctant to give you a good recommendation. So there you find they lose on opportunities. It is very important that these students realize inside themselves that they ought to behave in a very good way. They ought to design a certain type of behavior which will be acceptable in communities such that they can be looked at positively, that these are this, these are that. Short of that, we are not having good leaders, that they are going to have youths like now who are going to be future leaders who are very good. That one is going to be out. Truly, who is to change this? The students themselves, through constant sensitization by their teachers, even us security, when we visit them. These are things which we talk to them. Sessions of career guidance and what have you. These are things which should really impact in the students to sit with that. We try to change this behavior. Each time in a sporting activity in West Nile, there is a problem. Each time students go out together, even for constructive debates, it ends up in chaos. This is really...
I believe as police, that day you made some arrests. Where are we expecting this also really to go to? Because the courts may not be enough, maybe to handle this, maybe the cells may not be enough to handle these students. Definitely, they will also really wish to go back to school. Where are we seeing those who are arrested during this time here? Most of the students, not only those who are also really calling them students when they are not.
You see, true, we made some arrests during that time. Some students were arrested. I want to say it here, two students of St. Joseph's College, Ombachi, were arrested whipping people using the chain of a motorcycle. You imagine a student going in public with that dangerous thing, assuming they hit somebody on the head with the chain of a motorcycle. That would be fatal. So when the police identified these students in a fracas that they are whipping their colleagues with the chain, they made a chase and arrested them. These students were accordingly charged. And they are supposed to be taken to court to answer the charge why they went in public with that dangerous weapon. That chain is a thing which can cause fatality. It is termed as a dangerous weapon. They went with a dangerous weapon in public. They had to attend court. But now, these are students. When you take a decision that they should really go to prison, maybe serve 3 or 5 years, you are killing their career. Police will sit down and watch, will consider all avenues, how to bring these students back to good discipline. By yesterday, some of the students who were arrested, the school administration was in talks with the police to find a good approach. If we cannot take them to court, what best can we do to ensure that these students are reformed? One of the things we were looking at over the weekend was that these students will be handed back to the school administration. Police moves with them. Police will take them back to the school and talk to the students generally, hand them over to the school administration. And then the school administration will take administrative action on the students. They have the administrative actions to take on students who really demean their schools like that, misbehave and whatever. By taking administrative action on them, they will do what? They will change. Okay. Now, in the previous instances where some students went and caused a lot of damage to a school bus of another school, we sat with the parents, we sat with the school administration, and the parents were tasked to pay for the repairs of those trucks, of those vehicles which they damaged. Those who went to destroy school infrastructure, their parents were tasked to pay some amount of money. This is where now you see you are struggling to pay school fees for your child, and then your child is causing you to pay extra charges to the school on top of what you are supposed to pay for him or her as school fees. Okay. We have not got instances where we have arrested girls. Girls are disciplined. Are disciplined. I don't know whether they participate in inciting. I see some of them also jumping in their celebrations very, very arrogantly and what have you. But instances where they are to be arrested, they have been arrested, we have not experienced them. We want the girls to really take that as a good example to live positively and be good citizens or students in these schools.
Okay.
In the last fracas, girls from Mvara Secondary, when they realized that the situation was tense between golf club and on the route going to Chiba Coast and that is towards the school, what they did is they smartly they went to sit at the residence of the resident city commissioner. They went and gathered there. They sat down, quiet, they watched the fracas go, and then orderly they woke up and moved to the school. But the boys kept running around Uchiba Coast, laying roadblocks, beating people. Innocent man, an innocent man who was driving his pickup from Riki side, Uluko side, coming to Arua city with his cassava. He had gone to
Actually, that incident happened in my presence around golf course.
Yes, around golf course. He was stopped. His car was damaged. The windscreens were shattered by beating with the law. And then when he came out to say, please, don't damage my car, they assaulted him. And he had carried one of his relatives from the village. This relative was beaten because he was seated on the pickup behind.
Okay.
This is a parent who had his wife and his child in the car. The child was scared by the people. This set a bad precedent to that child seeing his father being beaten by students, and this child is going to school. That was not something which is really good.
Okay.
We want these students to really desist from acts of hooliganism. They are driving law enforcement officials to go to the extreme, to really sacrifice these students to be taken to prison, and they learn from prison.
Okay.
All other avenues to see to it that we work with school administration, school authorities, their parents, to see that each time they go into a mistake, they should be handled, should be guided, talked to, and they go back to school. If it fails, and then police will have no other option than to see to it that
they are taken to court. Okay, that is now our final word. I don't know what your final word is, as we're already up with time.
Our final word, my final word to the people here is, not only students are the ones causing this. Even former students, parents who go to watch these things, mixing with these students at venues like this, it is a challenge. School administration school authorities should ensure that each time the students move out, they should ensure they move in uniforms so that we can distinguish between non-students and students. And students should take this one positive, that is for their good. Other than that, we can't know who's a student and who's not a student. We can't differentiate whether these people causing trouble at these events are really students or not. Unless from those few we have arrested, we have now known that there are some members of the public who disguise as students to cause chaos. Those ones, I assure you, they go to court because they are in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Okay.
We take them to court. But for students, we can have alternative dispute resolution by talking to them, by guiding them to come back. That is it. This thing, it is our responsibility together, school authorities, parents, and everybody, to see to it that this kind of image of our schools during sporting activities should stop.
Okay, that is it. Thank you so much, Afande, for coming through. And we hope to also have you more and more in future. And that is also to help talk to the people of West Nile sub-region and the country at large, because when we talk about issues of hooliganism among our students, these are going to be leaders across different parts of the country. They're not only going to be residing in West Nile, they're not going to be in a rural city alone. Tomorrow, these may also be in the different parts of the world. And that is why we want to see an end now to the hooliganism during sporting activities over the years. And we want to see to that now this is history, and the history should not also really repeat itself, as we did see also really over the years. And this year also really we saw the same scenario, and we are now saying that should be an end, and we shouldn't have this anymore. And that is where we are coming to the end of this discussion in relation to the hooliganism, as we running for yet another short commercial break. Stay tuned.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Mbappe, Cristiano Ronaldo, Harry Kane, Sané, Griezmann, Lewandowski, and many more. Who is your European star? We are very familiar with all German stadia. Trust us to give you the best Euro experience affordably. Catch the matches live on NBS Sport, channel 255 on antenna or channel 199 on Dish Decoder on Star Times. We got your stars. This message is brought to you by StarTimes Solar. StarTimes Solar, more than just solar.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Well, a very good morning to you, and to you also who is still watching us. We say thank you so much for watching West Nile TV each and every Mondays to Fridays, 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And my name is Farish Majid. And earlier on, we are talking about issues related to hooliganism during sporting activities in Arua City in particular. And we have got to realize that also each and every time there is a sporting activity, more so for the secondary school sides, it does not end peacefully. And that is where we had the discussions also where we are joined by Inspector of Police Matua, ALFRED, OTOKIRA, the Community Liaison Officer for Central Division, and I hope you had a wonderful time. And now to summarize the discussions with what is happening nationally, where we did see also already on the past being reported this morning, where a female pump manager has also really shot himself dead, which is really on a quite sad note. And we are saying, much as you have issues, we shouldn't resort to that is where we commit suicide. Suicide is never a solution. We must always open up, and this is where also really it is becoming a trouble. It's becoming a challenge, where we are seeing cases of suicide also already being on the rise. And now a fuel pump manager in the Central District of Mubende District has also already committed suicide using also really the AK-47 rifle also really to kill himself in there. And this is really on a quite sad note. And this happened on Monday evening, which was yesterday, and so they said that 5 also respondents say followed a stressful day. For that is Alan Okelo, who managed the oil energy fuel station branch that is in the Mubende District. And this is where we are saying, much as we have issues, we should always resort to solely sharing those issues with the rest of the colleagues. If at all we are not solely sharing, then that would be quite unwell. And that is why we are saying now issues of conflicts must be also really avoided, because if at all I'm not opening up to a colleague, and then definitely at the end of the day it is going to be me who is going to be leaving my family in stress, and also really where our family is going to be suffering. And we are saying to avoid that is quite simple. We must make sure that we have people whom we confide in. These are people whom we call confidants, with whom we can also really open up on our ideas. And this is where also those people whom we are keeping our information confidential, also to keep that information very confidential indeed, they shouldn't also really open up this information to other people. And this is where we're saying, if at all I have issues, I have challenges, it could be financial stress, it could be family issues, it could be any other issue, because even work issues, because each and every where there's stress. And there's stress everywhere. It could be at workplace, it could be family, it could be anything. It could be relationship as well, because many people go through a number of issues that stress them. But we are saying issues of resorting to what we call suicide shouldn't also really come to our minds. And this is where we're saying, if at all you are already developing suicidal thoughts, then definitely it's high time you open up to anybody out there, so that so really these people can be able to help you, because the world needs you. We still need you as much as you want to commit suicide. And that is where we are saying that is quite a sad note, and we are leaving that aside. And now to look on some of the stories where also really recently we did see an attempted shooting That is on Minister Nyamtoro. Now 6 guards have been remanded for threatening also to shoot at Minister in there, and this is another story. And we are seeing on the past morning on the highlights already where we need to keep informed in all sectors, and 6 guards attached to a private security firm have already been also already paraded before courts also already. That was yesterday. That was in Ndora, and now they have been sent to Ndora prison after they all pleaded guilty for also the 7 charges also already of against threatening of violence. That's also already on Miss Fiona Nyamtoro and her former also team and her team also last week. And this incident happened last week where this people opened the trigger in one of those areas of also already where illegal mineral mining was taking place. And this is where we're saying these issues must be avoided, and people must avoid issues of taking the laws in their hands. And to the bosses, please, let's avoid landing people into trouble, because you might have issued the guideline that if anybody comes to this place, open up the trigger, because this is what even the minister said at that time. And he said she needs the people and more so the responsible owners behind also this mineral energy in, mining in there, because she feels definitely these people could have also already given the instruction to those juniors, most of the soldiers and security guards also already who are manning that place in there. But we are saying issues of also already avoiding ammunition must be avoided, and misusing ammunition, sorry, must be avoided, because at the end of the day, definitely we are going to be using this ammunition that would have been used also to disperse thieves, also just being wasted on who have come during broad daylight. And that is where we're saying people must desist from tendencies of taking the laws into their hands. We must respect the laws, and we must use these firearms very, very well, because these are people that can, these are things that can endanger one's life. And then definitely if at all you are just maybe shooting to also really threaten people and scare people, but at the end of the day, accidentally, the thing may also really go and meet somebody. Remember, bullets cannot be able to spare, because definitely once they point to a particular direction, definitely that is where also really they will be able to point at. And once they're pointing to a particular direction, definitely that is where they're going to be moving at. And that's why we're saying people must avoid issues of misusing the ammunition and the guns at large. And that is where now we did also see at least where gentlemen like Mr. Norbert Okorobo, a 35-year-old, Robert Muchunguzi, 25, Anthony Nwagawa, 20-year-old, Hassan Onan, a 25-year-old, including also Dewos Kiza, a 27-year-old, and not forgetting Matthias Kajugo, a 58-year-old, have all been arrested also already and also already sent, that is on remand in there. And we are following on that matter, and we shall be able to keep you informed when the right information also already comes from there. And now, to summarize today's discussions, now let's also really see where a British lawyer has been hired, that is to defend Joseph Kony at the ongoing ICC court that is in The Hague. And definitely this also really is going to be taking place in the absence of Joseph Kony, who to date hasn't been arrested, and the Lord Resistance Army boss is also already being hunted for over years. But up to date, definitely he has not been also already arrested, and now a British national has been hired by the International Criminal Court as to defend, that is Joseph Kony. The Lord Resistance Army boss in there, Mr. Peter Haynes, will now represent Kony on October 15th this year when his case comes up, that is for hearing, that and confirmation charges also already, that is at The Hague in Netherlands in there. And the elusive Kony faces up to 33 counts of also already war crimes and crimes against humanity, and that is where he allegedly also already committed when he was also already a 20-year war, in his 20-year civil war against the current regime, that is of the NRM, leaving over 1,000 people dead in there. And this is where he will be represented in his absentia. But definitely, what will this mean? What if he is found guilty and he's not around? I don't know what that will mean, but that is an issue now. We are living entirely into the hands of court, more so the International Criminal Court to also really make an assessment on that. And that is where we come to the end of today's discussions. And up next will be the news bulletin in Lubarati and Irefe Duhabo Mukulianeche, Erdibini Mumitri, or as a Lubarati Sifren, Mapa, and Wasani, and Niamania Medica Drusi, Sawala Lormalia. And for now, dear viewer, for those who do not understand Lubara, and that is just a brief information that also the news bulletin in Lubarati will be coming shortly with Mukulia Lawrence, who is already here to keep you informed and updated of what is happening in line to the news bulletin. And with that, I want to also already appeal to those who